Good morning. Look at that. It's Sunday, by the way. Day after brew day 2. And we got some nice grouse and foamy goodness. So, not doing another brew day today. I'm in to just do a little bit of work on the cooling for these fermenters. Because it wasn't quite working as I wanted to when I went home last night. So they're off at the moment because it's on the bench here. I'm not going to do a video about how to put an STC 1000 into an Inkbird because there's plenty of guides out there already. I'd just be saying the same thing. So go look them up if you want to do it. But essentially, we've bypassed this controller completely with a controller of our own, so we can drop the temperature down to lower levels than the stock unit will allow. What I will talk about is the pump side. Now, in my case, I've removed the pump from the wiring completely, so it's independently controlled by this box here, which I'll talk about in a second. This is what the pump looks like. There's an impeller on the end which spins and agitates the water, and then there's a pump which pumps the glycol out of this tube into this hose, which then comes out of this pipe, goes off, does its thing, and comes back in to this pipe where it's dropped back into the tank. Simple as that. So by removing that from this unit, all the unit's got to do is just keep the tank at 3 degrees. It doesn't do anything else. Minus 3 degrees. I'm sorry. The controller that we've got that I built last week. I didn't do any drawings. I kind of did the drawings afterwards, and had a little bit of external help. Thank you guys with a few little questions that I had, or a few ideas that actually made it a lot easier to do what I was trying to do. So what we've got there are 3 plugs here, but don't be scared by that. This is the power supply for the unit. So that is supplying power for the power supplies and into the switched side of the relay. The power from this is what's used to drive the pump. These 2 plugs here serve one purpose and one purpose only, and that is when the socket on the Inkbird, the cooling socket, becomes live, it signals this relay to switch the contacts and redirect the power from this plug to something else, which I'll cover in a second. If you've not seen the Inkbird sockets, I'm pretty sure everybody has, in the home brewing space. It looks like that. So you've got 2 sockets on it. One says cooling, one says heating. And when the Inkbird decides through the temperature sensor that it wants to cool the tank or whatever device you're cooling, then the cooling socket becomes live. And if it needs a bit of heat to warm something up, then the heating socket becomes live. And they're good for about 10 amps. And all I'm doing is switching a relay. These relays, this was an idea that Martin had, and it hadn't occurred to me. Double pole, double throw relays, the 2 sides of the relay which are switched are independent from one another. So in our case, we have the power coming in down the plug and into the left side of the relay, which I'm using for AC, and then I've piggybacked that onto the left side of the second relay. I'll cover these power supplies in a second. Onto the left side of this relay, so they're common together, so they both have power waiting for the relay to switch. So when one of these sockets becomes live, one of these relays, or maybe both of these relays, will switch, and the power which we've provided will be passed through the output terminals. In this case, on this one here, it is supposed to be brown, it's very light brown, down here, and then out of there to the pump. Additionally, I've linked the output contacts together, so whichever relay becomes live, the pump will energize. That gives us a little problem because we don't want the glycol flowing around both tanks, only the one socket that's asking for it, unless they're both asking for it. So we've used the right hand side of the contacts of the relay to send a 12 volt signal down these cables to these two solenoid valves, which will normal in their normal off state will not allow glycol to pass. When they're energized with 12 volts, they will allow glycol to pass. So if I've got one of those on the glycol input to each tank, then we can restrict the flow to where we want it to go. The way that works, as you can see, the power from the power supply here is looped across both, so both of these contacts have a 12 volt signal present, but when it's switched, they're not common together. There were two white ones there, they're separate, so the 12 volt goes off independently to these two. So AC turns the pump on whichever relay, and the DC opens the solenoid valve specifically for whichever socket became live. What I've just added today, and I've not tested this yet, is another power supply, but it's not always powered. It's only powered when the AC relays or AC contacts in the relay switch. So in other words, when the pump is on, this power supply becomes live, and we have a 12 volt signal down this cable into this little 12 volt DC jack for an additional pump. So I'm going to play with that now. Whether we just use the onboard thing as an agitator and we do the pumping, or whether we use it as a little boost pump, not sure yet, but I'm going to have a play with that, see if it works. Good evening, it's Tuesday. Now I know I said I was going to have a little look at those pumps next, and then I came a bit of a cropper. I don't know if you noticed, or if it was even on the video, there was 2 boxes of grain there when we dug out the mash tun. I put them in these big black plastic tubs, just like these ones, and they were super heavy because it was wet. And I leaned over to pick one up, and I've done my hamstring in. So I went down like a sack of potatoes, and I could barely walk. I just had to go home and put my feet up, and it's still killing me. So I'm just waiting for the swelling to go down, and then I'll decide what to do about it. But I don't think I'll be brewing this weekend. I'm not moving any heavy stuff around, so I've got some other stuff to do this weekend anyway. So, but yeah, I just thought I'd share. Anyway, I've come into this puddle. I don't know where it's coming from. So that's the first job. Work that out. I think I've overfilled the maxi cooler, and I unplugged it because it wasn't pumping round. There was not enough pressure from the pump. I'm about to try a couple of experiments out, and I'm hoping it's just expanded or something. I don't know, but we lost some glycol there. I've got some spare, but I need to know where it's coming from. Okay, we're up and running. Didn't have to use the submersible one, but I'm going to find a use for it. All I did, it worked first time, was just check the glycol tank level, which was fine. I think it just doesn't dry when it's on this floor. And what I've done down there is inserted that little booster pump. It's lower than the height of the tap, so it doesn't drain out and have to run dry every time it ticks in and out. We've got one solenoid up into here. I did have a problem with this. Sean told me when I bought it off him, for some reason the glycol will not flow from bottom to top, and I've just tried it with the pump, and there's a lot of gurgling going on, but there's nothing coming out. And when you disconnect the pipe at the bottom to drain it, it comes back out again. I filled this teapot wherever I've put it. Yeah, this one. It's like 1.7 litres, and I filled it with what was running back out. It just doesn't seem to want to make it up to the top. I don't know if there's something stuck in it that's acting like a little valve or something. Either way, plumbed it the other way around. Works fine. It's not ideal, obviously cooling from top to bottom, but it'll have to do until we can work it out. I've not had the wood off that yet, so I've got no idea what the construction of the cooling is. But we've got other options. The lid's wide enough to get some sort of immersion glycol chiller in, or something else. Heating will be the next thing, and we'll have a look at that in a future adventure. So guys, 9:27, and I'm sat watching this Inkbird for the last couple of hours, and the temperature's not moved, not even 0.1, not moved at all. So now I'm concerned I'm pumping glycol all down the back streets of Middlewich. So Elliot kindly has agreed to drive me down, because I'm 3/4 of the way through with a lovely bottle of Co-op Chianti. But we're going to have a look and see what's going on. For those that wonder what I'm going on about with this beer name, this is the Murgy Straight. So now you know. I would take the scenic route as well. Well, he's not looking where he was going. Bell end. Yeah, straight up. So here we have on the right hand side the White Bear. On the left hand side, Jimmy Chango's. Currently shut because it is a Tuesday night. Boutique. And that, my friends, is Middlewich. Right, let's go and have a look and see what I've messed up. So 11.4, let's try and get my head around it. So this is the input here, and if I pull that out, this should have glycol coming out of it, and it ain't. So something's not right. Further back. Oh, can't get it on. Hold that up. Right, that's on. So that pipe there. By the way, is that one there? The top one. The top one down there. So there. Right, so that's got glycol. Where's it the other way around? They're actually connected. Teapot. Right. Pumping. Yeah, it's pumping. Right. So it's pumping. Pumping out of there. Why is it not going down there? Because it's going around there. So it's coming. It's getting to that T. It's coming out of there, around there, into the pump. And as you saw then from the spray that came out, definitely getting into the T. This one's off, and that's definitely nothing coming out of there. It's this solenoid. Just look, there's a switch I've got. Okay. It's this solenoid, mate. This is stopping it. How are your eyes? The arrow on the back there, can you see it? Is it pointing that way? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it goes that way, doesn't it? Right, so, before we do anything else, that one can come out of there. So we have now got into there and out of there. Right, so I've taken the solenoid out completely.
So it should go all the way around.
Right, so I'll leave that on there for a minute.
Turn it back on.
So we checked if there was this pipe here with the pump through it, comes into the T here. So we checked that and it's got a good head behind it, no problem. It was going into this solenoid, and when we disconnected the hose from the back of the fermenter, there was nothing coming out of it. So it's this inexpensive Chinese solenoid valve, I think, is the culprit. So we're going to do two things now. Well, I don't need to cool this one at all, because the ambient is keeping it at 17 odd degrees anyway. They're off at the moment. But what I do need to do is cool this one, so I've just taken that solenoid out for now. We'll set that one at like 30 or something so it doesn't cool this, because that solenoid is blocking the flow. I'm just going to see now if when we turn it on without the solenoid in, does glycol come back out the other side. Hopefully it will, so we'll try that now. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that, but there's definitely a flow through it. I can see bubbles and stuff coming through it. So it is actually now passing. So it was that solenoid valve. Fortunately, I've got some spares. What I'm going to do is just check this one. I think of better things to be doing at whatever it is, 10 at night. Well, there's no obvious signs of crap in it.
Maybe it's the actual electronics.
I don't know which way around that was now.
It's plug it anyway.
So, that in there. That goes that way. Put the screws back in. Just go and check what the temperature is of that now, mate. Still 11.4.
Is the fluid going through? And it looks like it. Baking colour. Still 11.4, but there's still stuff in the tube.
Oh, okay, got it. Stick a light on. That is the problem. Goo. That is the problem. On the input side of this is a little mesh filter to capture any crap. Now, this Maxi 210's been stood for 2 years or more, and obviously it's got some sediment and crap in the bottom of it, which these little solenoids have just picked up. So I'm going to leave it off for now. We're down at 11.3 now, so we've lost 0.1 of a degree just in the last 5 minutes. But that appears to be the problem. So I think what I need to do is get the glass, once this fermentation's done and that tank's empty, between that and crash cooling the other one, I think we need to give it a good old blast through inside and get all the crap out. Put some new glycol in. Okay, so in summary, what we've done is glycol everywhere now. It comes out of here, down this black pipe, around there, into this little supplementary pump that I've put in here, which then goes into this T-piece here. This one goes off to fermenter 2 with the solenoid valve. This is not going to be asking for cool at the moment. We're at 17.2. We've been fermenting a couple of days. I'm going to watch the temperatures from home. If I need to come back and deal with it, I will, but right now I'm okay with that. Coming off this side was the other solenoid, which, as you've just seen, is full of crud. So for now, I've just put it on the bench down there. It'll still be clicking in and out as it asks for cold, and once it hits the target crash temperature, but that's okay. I'm happy to have solved it, and we can just go home now and get on with it. At least we know what it is. Right, I'm going to go finish my wine now.